Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel SS Analysis. First of all, I would like to tell you that if you are watching this video first time, subscribe my channel to see my more upcoming videos on analysis of different commodities and equity indices. And second important thing is to watch this video till its end to understand this solely to take your decision. Your one like will motivate me to be regular in working more hard for you. Let us start the day to analyze the movements of S&P 500 futures in different time frames. Today I will start analyzing the movements of S&P 500 futures in a monthly chart. So friends, here you can see a monthly chart of S&P 500 futures. First, because the quantum of volatility has achieved its extreme levels, which may result in indecisive directional moves in S&P 500 futures anytime. Therefore, I find that this compels me to have a broader look at the movements of S&P 500 futures before moving further. Friends, as you know that the Wall Street's major indexes fell on Friday after witnessing major sell-off in Asian and as well as European equity markets amid growing fear of devastating economic impact of pandemic COVID-19. Dow Jones lost 913 points and Nasdaq lost 271 points, whereas S&P 500 futures closed 5% lower than its previous close. I find that the most of the industries have given clear signals of advent of a recessionary phase shortly because the currently prevailing globally supply chain disruption has been constantly putting pressure on their profit margins, which will enforce them to come out with lower numbers while they announce their first and second quarter results. There is no doubt that the economic losses from a devastating stoppage of countless US restaurants, hotels, movie theaters, gyms, and other services providers and millions of employees now idle. I find that despite a coordinated efforts made by the major central banks of the world, global economic situation looks scarier than ever before because during the meltdown of 2008, the global economy was struggling only with the impact of financial weakness at the time. But this time we have to fight against two major problems. First is prevailing weakness in global economy due to the damaging economic impact of 17-month-long tariff trade war tussle between the United States and China, which is yet to be resolved completely, and on the other hand, damaging impact of COVID-19, which seems to continue to hurt global supply chain for a long time to come. So let us have a look at the movement of S&P 500 futures, which have even come below the S&P 500 index levels, which gives clear indication that during the upcoming days, this weakness may persist for a long time. Here you can see that on Friday, the S&P 500 futures closed at a critical level of 2437 after testing the lows of 2346. Therefore, I find that if the S&P 500 futures find a gap down opening on the first trading session of the upcoming week below the levels of 2354, I find that they will have to defend the critical support level of 2262. Otherwise, currently prevailing weakness may last for a long time. I find that this level may find a strong support to S&P 500 futures from where we may see a short covering rally as we witnessed just a few days ago. Here you can see that the S&P 500 futures, after testing the highs of 3402 on December 30th, 2019, since then we have seen that the S&P 500 futures have been witnessing continuous sell-off on every upward move, which resulted in two long bearish candles during the months of February and March, and still this weakness looks to continue during the month of March ahead. Friends, here I find if the S&P 500 futures start the upcoming week with a gap down opening below the levels of 2343, we will see the S&P 500 futures will have to defend this immediate support at 2262, which I find may decide further directional moves of the S&P 500 futures. Otherwise, the S&P 500 futures may test the levels of 2095 during the upcoming week, where they may find another strong support from these levels. Otherwise, they will have to enter in the mid of this recessionary zone, because I find that this zone, here you can see that after entering inside this zone, which I have marked in this color, S&P 500 futures look ready to test the lower end of this recessionary zone during the upcoming weeks. I find that there is no doubt that any downward move below this level may result in a devastating downward move in S&P 500 futures, where the S&P 500 futures may test the lower end of this recessionary zone, which is at the levels of 1619 up to the month of July 2020. So friends, be ready to see an action in S&P 500 futures, because on any upward move in S&P 500 futures, I find that the rallies will be sold below the levels of 2502, because on every upward move, the S&P 500 futures will have to find a stiff resistance at the levels of 2502, which is an immediate resistance level for the S&P 500 futures, and the second resistance will be there at the levels of 2606, where the S&P 500 futures may find strong sell-off from these levels. So friends, be ready to see an action in S&P 500 futures, where I find that during the month of March, this weakness may prolong up to much lower levels, where the S&P 500 futures may test the lows of 2106 due to prevailing disruption in global supply chain, which may continue to disrupt the efforts made by global central banks to boost the economy. On the other hand, steady gold futures look evident enough to reflect the growing indecisiveness in global equity markets, which may result in more downward moves in S&P 500 futures. Here I find that if the S&P 500 futures make a sustainable move below the levels of 2262, we will see the S&P 500 futures to test the levels of 2095 during the upcoming week. So friends, be ready to see an action in S&P 500 futures. So if you like this video, don't forget to share this video with your more and more friends. Thank you.